So today is October 15, 2025. I was underneath the umbrella eating because I always eat under the umbrella. Because sometimes people try to spit when I'm eating. And I know some people, as soon as I was underneath the umbrella, I was, listening to the radio. And I know some people were walking behind me, trying to rub their body on me. And I tried to ignore it because I said, okay, people do walk wherever they want to walk. I can't. But they were trying to rub their body on my umbrella, rub their breast and chest behind my umbrella and stuff. Most they were laughing. And I just got up and I saw they had parked a army logo car behind me. So this Trump has been saying that the reason for the shutdown is because some people don't deserve care in America, and well, they're going to, and he's going to make sure they're handled a different kind of way, and he says it's going to give such people a taste of their own medicine, and he's been saying he uses a lot of innuendo, and he's been saying guys should be disarmed, and I've been noticing the police have been surrounding me while he's been making a statement trying to lock me up in the psych ward. Even his transportation secretary came here and explicitly said they should be locking up homeless in the psych ward. This is how my mother's daughters killed my mother. My mother was at daughters went to an insurance fraud scam, and she went to stay with them after the police took me and my mother from Staten Island in 2010. I said one of the daughters was feeding her car antifreeze poison, trying to kill my mother early, hoping that they could inherit the money my mother could possibly win from the lawsuit with receipt number 13CV5052. I filed in Brooklyn Federal Court stating that the police unlawfully evicted me and my mother from a basement apartment standing up without a court order, using a forced emergency pretense. Even though there was no emergency, there was no fire, there was no flood. It was just they were routinely, under Bloomberg administration, invading people's homes and kicking them out of the basement apartment without a court order. The police department and the buildings department and issuing wrongful vacate orders. So I've been experiencing all kinds of. Even when I try to use the bathroom here, they have a new guy. I don't know whether it works for the U.S. military or not. Harassing me. Anytime I try to use the bathroom, the old set of workers, the black Americans, they'll call the police on me. Now they have a new guy that's much more athletically built. As I was going to use the bathroom, they had locked up the park here for many months, saying they were trying to build they were trying to renovate it, and they never really renovated it. At something, or I think I must have overheard somebody say they were trying to plant new grass or whatever. And they never really, I don't think you need to close a park for 4 months to plant new grass. So I've been getting trolled by a lot of whites, funny looking whites. One came near me was air cleaning, doing like this, like he wanted to grab me. I said, sir, please leave me alone. I don't know who you are. And so a bunch of police officers surrounded me in there. I don't know if they're ICE officers or not, but they were just walking towards me. Earlier on Church Street, I didn't even know they were police until I saw one of them had an handcuff behind them. So they're doing all kinds of stuff to frighten me as an Nigerian. So I don't know if those guys were ICE agents. I criticize this Trump a lot, and I'm getting attacked everywhere. So like 4 or 5 guys, they surrounded me. They were walking as a whole gang. And I was standing on the street, pushing my bag, and my cart, the tire is weak. So I was when they all surrounded me and walked by and came back again. And I saw one of them had an handcuff behind his pants, backside, belt area. So since I criticize this Trump a lot, I've been getting harassed. There's a black American male here that doesn't allow me to use the bathroom. The black Americans here that work in the park, they don't let me use the bathroom. I'm a Nigerian, so it's like they pay me back for slavery and for criticizing this Trump. And he's been saying some people don't deserve care in America, and he's going to handle them in his own way, but make sure they're fed medicine. So they say they're presently locking up homeless people on the train, you know, and this is like a war crime. Nobody has the right to take hostage a foreigner and go and force feed them medicine. You know, my friend Arigana was helping me after the police took my home and the police wanted to choke him dead. So I think, you know, so since then I've been also trying to get justice against the police, but nobody really helps us in Nigeria here. So I'm recording all this stuff. They don't let me use the bathroom. They torture me, but thank God, you know, at least I can document it with my cell phone, because it would have been much worse. They said during the slavery, people didn't have cell phones to record nothing. You know, so they parked an army car, or like, you know, with a funny looking logo, which looks like a mockery image. You know, so this is what is going on. So please, I need the court to intervene. I'm being tortured. I'm being threatened with false arrest, false medical diagnosis and treatment. This is how my mother's daughter killed her. They framed mental illness of my mother. My mother wasn't crazy, and my mother was so angry that they would lock her up in the psych ward when she's not crazy. You know, and she died, you know, from the anger, because she also has a high blood pressure. This was in 2015. But Bellevue Hospital, you know, here in Manhattan. So they're taunting me and they're attacking me with military type infrastructure and law enforcement. Since I criticized this Trump a lot, even I was criticizing him that you know, that the court, because he was convicted of like 34 felonies last year, and the judge was from Colombia, and he started to not sentence him to prison. You know, even though they said under New York law, when you're convicted of felony, it's mandatory to go to prison. So he gave Trump an illegal election gift, saying they shouldn't sentence him. He decided not to sentence Trump to any prison sentence. And they said this Trump was threatening that judge and his family, and that judge is a naturalized US citizen. So I guess, you know, he was able to intimidate that judge, you know, and not sentence that judge to prison. And that judge wouldn't sentence him to prison, which would allow Trump to become president. Because at the sentence Trump to prison, you know, he may have not been able to become president, and it may also have disqualified him, his candidacy, because he was claiming Kamala, and he was claiming the criminal charges against him were false, even though he was convicted by jury who found evidence that he was lying on his tax papers or things like that. He was committing fraud, you know, getting loans based on, I think, exaggerating the worth of his assets, you know, and it was campaigning based on false premise, which would have triggered the voter suppression laws. And it was claiming that Kamala may not even be a U.S. citizen, you know, and it was making up blatant lies. And after they convicted him last year, 2024, you know, that should have triggered, you know, if they sentenced him to prison, that could have triggered, you know, that would have triggered, I would suspect that would have triggered the voter suppression law because in 2001, I believe Al Gore had won the presidential election, but Judge Bush appealed to the Supreme Court that in Florida there was all kinds of voter fraud going on, and they had to. I think the Supreme Court overturned the election, and maybe must have annulled the election in Florida and gave it to Bush, and Bush was able to serve 2 terms. So, you know, this Trump was able to use gangsterism to intimidate a Colombia-born judge, the country of Colombia, South America, born judge, to not sentence him to prison. And since then, you know, I've been having like U.S. Army looking people, and especially when this Trump said the reason for the shutdown is because some people don't deserve to care in America, and is going to make sure they end up, you know, they're diverted to some other type of care, and they said, but they're going to be forcefully fed medicine. And I've seen military type people approach me, and intimidate me, but they said the money to pay military and law enforcement, federal law enforcement, will run out by next week. Even judges, federal judges, the money to pay them will run out by next week. And it's now, trying to direct anger towards me. They said it incites violence even after January 6th. On January 6, 2021, when they were about to certify the election, it was telling people, the supporters, to come and fight like crazy. And they said many people got killed in the Capitol building, or to that effect was alleged that some people died, as a result of the incitement of violence. And he was able to become president this year and dismiss charges that would have been filed against him, because he uses presidential power. So there's a lot of intimidation and pardoning people associated with violence, January 6th insurrection, 2021. So I'm noticing a lot of the law enforcement in America, that may be sympathetic to the fellow law enforcement in the federal setting. Especially here in New York. They're becoming very hostile towards me, and they're arresting homeless people like me. So this Trump has set me up to be falsely killed and arrested, and he's saying Gaza must be disarmed, and he's been saying, so I carry a lot of law articles, New York Law Journal, in my bag and stuff, and they always, anytime I'm reading the New York Law Journal, the police always try to arrest me. Also, I read a lot of newspapers. Some of the newspapers, they say some of the police don't find them complimentary because they report on police abuse of civilians, like the New York Daily News. So, and he's been saying, and this Trump is fond of using nicknames for people, saying, calling people shorthand Rubio, and also so I believe it's maybe referring to me as Gaza, because because they would have seen me as a liberal that supports liberation, that supports civil rights, and there's been a lot of foreigners marching for Gaza and America students. So I think it's been using the Nonando nickname Gaza to refer to me, directing his law enforcement to attack me, say Gaza must be disarmed. And as a matter of fact, they've been saying they're banning bags and stuff by homeless on the subway. They always try to arrest me anytime they see me with a bag, because I always carry law books and stuff. I mean, law journals and newspapers and stuff. And the police may find not too complimentary, for that, because they report incidents of police abuse and torture here in New York. So and also they said I criticize governments around the world also online and stuff. So I criticized Putin in the past for the invasion of Ukraine, and all of a sudden they said Putin visited Alaska this year and with Trump, and they said lip readers said they were watching Putin and Trump speak from afar, and they could interpret what they were saying was, Putin telling Trump, just give me the go ahead and I will kill it, and Trump said I would appreciate it, so I believe, I'm also a gender non-binary. I used to, I used to refer to myself as a gender non-binary, but now I mainly refer to myself as a transsexual. I was born a male, now I'm a woman. So I used to use pronouns like they, and and that's one of my pronouns. But now I'm just referring to myself as a woman. So I believe that Putin may have been talking about me, because I heard it's been there was a time in England some years back. Is there one of the dissidents from his country that used to criticize him a lot? I was getting asylum in London, and somebody came and forcefully hugged this person and sprayed chemical poison on the person, and the person died of you know, the person's hair was falling out, and the person died of the chemical poison. A Russian dissident that was living in London on an asylum that criticizes Putin a lot. You know, it says this Putin as assassins, he uses to kill people that criticizes Putin. I've criticized Putin in the past for invading Ukraine online and stuff. And so this is very serious that, you know, this Trump, even outside independent sources, are confirming the same feelings I'm experiencing, you know, that he's talking about assassination, and I believe and even the Biden administration said it was inciting political assassination on January 6, 2001, when after the election was supposed to be certified by Congress. You know, and here we are, 2025, he threatened the judge, a Columbia judge, in his case last year at the Manhattan Supreme Court for exaggerating his assets to collect loans from banks, you know. And now I wrote an email to that judge to sentence Trump to prison and not forgive him. I said it will be very dangerous if he's given any leniency or clemency to remain on the street or to remain, you know, free. And now it's happened, but the judge was too intimidated because Trump was threatening the judge's daughter. And the judge is also from Colombia. He's a naturalized U.S. citizen. And even Trump was saying they're going to be denaturalizing U.S. naturalized citizens for simple things as you know, not being patriotic and stuff. You know, so I guess the Colombian born judge must have felt intimidated and decided to not, you know, break the rule and not sentence Trump to prison at all, even though it's mandatory that you go to prison for a certain number of time if you're found guilty of felony under New York law. So that's an unequal application of justice, and it goes against the constitutional protection that all men are born equal. If people here in New York would generally go to prison if they commit a felony, and Trump is just single-handedly exempted. You know, they said the only cause of recourse is for Trump to have appealed to the Governor Cuomo of New York to pardon him, and instead of seeking pardon, he was threatening the judge, and the judge decided not to sentence him to prison at all. So this needs to look into. This is a travesty of justice that would occur. And anybody watching the general public that may be watching my video or member, you know, please, I would appreciate your non-conditional humanitarian assistance to my Cash App donations. My Cash App is NYC Homeless. I'm not looking for any marriage or any romance or any type of surrogacy or any type of relationship or friendship. I'm not looking to be anybody's master or slave. I'm not looking to be, you know, because I've been experiencing all kinds of suspicious activities by scammers and stuff. So I'm not interested in any of that. In case I'm killed, only civil rights activists like me can administer my state and get justice for me and my dead mother, and the rest of my assets should be used to help those suffering from xenophobia like me and my dead mother. And people being deported by Trump should prioritize. You know, and nobody should make a movie about me. No, I'm not really close to anybody for them to know about my life. Even when immigration arrested me in 2000 when I came here with my mother, and they said green card holders like my mother can't bring children here, and I was a minor child. And I told them I couldn't go back to Nigeria because Nigeria is not safe for me. My father was abusing me, and they were asking me, the immigration officers were asking me, who did I tell that I was being abused? Did I tell my mother's daughters here in America? I didn't tell nobody because I'm an introvert, you know, and they found it kind of weird. Yes, I don't really talk about my life with other people, no matter who they are. So, like, you know, so it's in my immigration file that I've always been very introverted, you know. So my immigration file number is 877-954-628. 877-954-628. So, you know, so my mother's daughters don't really know about me. You know, I don't really talk with them, so I'm very guarded about my image. So even if I'm killed or whatever happens to me, I don't want anybody to do any movie about me behind my back. because they won't be able to tell my story the way I would want to tell, you know. So please, and under the right of sepulchre, a person's wish should be respected when they are dead also. Otherwise, it will be considered an abuse of a corpse and violation of right of sepulchre and other accessory charges, imprisonment, carry imprisonment here in New York. So people should know that, and I would like, anybody, civil activists representing my state, to make sure anybody violating my rights is dealt with, whether I'm alive or dead, regarding my stated wishes, So please, I would like the courts also to get involved and issue orders to investigate what is going on and to protect me, and to get the city of New York and the state of New York to put me in a shelter for people that are vacated from their homes. The New York Supreme Court in Brooklyn in the 1990s, under a class action lawsuit filed by the Legal Aid Society for people being vacated from their homes by the city of New York, especially from basement apartment. There's a court order that the city of New York is supposed to put people like me in a hotel room with toilet and private toilet and kitchen, and help me get housing. And the Legal Aid Society doesn't want to help me. I guess as a Nigerian, they're very biased. I've contacted them numerous times. So I would appreciate if the court can order the city of New York to comply with the settlement order since the 1990 and put me in a hotel room. Even this Eric Adams is the mayor, and he's been helping Black Americans in my situation, puts them in a hotel room. And even Irvin Bragg, the Manhattan prosecutor, I saw him in front of this place around the time Mother's Day. He was talking to Black Americans, hugging them. I tried to talk with him and ignored me. And I spoke with his security detail who was wearing civilian clothing. I said, please, can you let him know I've been experiencing crimes and I want to speak with him. I've been sending him emails. And security detail told me now I should call 911 if I'm experiencing crime or go to the police prison. And I said the police don't even let me into the prison. They always tell me to wait outside, treat me like I have some disease as a Nigerian. And the security detail and everybody just got into their SUV and drove away. So I've been getting taunted, and under Section 1986 of U.S. law, no public official or government official could conspire to deny you civil rights. It's against the law, and there's a punishment of imprisonment. So this Irvin Bragg is the Manhattan prosecutor, but he's very biased towards his fellow Black Americans. It's just some Black Americans don't like Africans, say we sold their ancestor into slavery, and they don't want us to get justice either. So he came here around this year, and he was arguing his fellow Black Americans, talking with them on Mother's Day. Well, I think it was like a Sunday this year, 2025. I mean, close to the time my mother was killed, anniversary. She was killed close to Mother's Day. My mother was killed May 20, 2015. So I saw him here. I don't know if he was taunting me or trying to get me to be violent so that the security detail can shoot me dead. Because at that time also they said Trump was trying to file criminal charges against Irvin Bragg. And I guess maybe wanted to give Trump a gift, to have the security kill me by taunting me and ignoring me. And then maybe Trump wouldn't file charges against this Irvin Bragg, because Irvin Bragg, took Trump to court last year and won the case, but Trump, threatened the judge, and Trump also didn't go to prison. And the other prosecutor that took Trump to court last year, Letitia James, she's now being prosecuted by Trump, even though one of the prior prosecutor in district attorney for the Fed in Virginia didn't really find probable cause to prosecute Letitia James. They said she had lied that she was married to her father, and to get loan to buy a house in Virginia. And but once Trump got rid of that district attorney or district council, whatever the feds called, the prosecutors are called the Fed, and got rid of that district council and brought a new one. So I guess this Irvin Bragg was just trying to get me killed early this year as a gift to Trump, and he wanted to do it on Mother's Day, because he came on Mother's Day in front of this Washington Market Park where there are some Black Americans, that tried to kill me. This time they called the police on me, threatened me. And now they have a new black American here. It looks like he's working for the U.S. Army. He's very athletically built. And the first day I saw him, he's a new guy. I told him, no, don't come to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom also. I said, stop recording me. You know, and it was so rude to me. Because on my way to the bathroom, I was recording, like, I'm always getting jumped for, you know, my black Americans. It was a Saturday morning, and there was hardly anybody in the bathroom. And as soon as I was approaching the bathroom, he came at me out of nowhere. I said, he told me, you can't come to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom. He told me he needs to go to the women's bathroom, and it was like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. The bathroom had just been open. I didn't really go there to do anything. It was just like, it was trolling me. So, so that happened. Bragg, also a black American district attorney for Manhattan, came here like Mother's Day this year, 2025, and was also trolling me. Like he was trying to get me angry so that I could get it. I was trying to talk to him and ignore me, go and hug his fellow black Americans, that were walking by, that recognized him. I was able to recognize him also, and his security detail told me, he said, no. I told me to stop talking to him. I said, I'm trying to talk to him about crimes have been expressed. He said, no, just call 911 or go to the precinct. I said the police don't help me either. And they got into the SUV and left. And they made me feel so smallish, like I'm a nobody, like I'm just a nuisance. And I guess they were just trying to provoke me to see if the security guy can shoot me dead. Say I was threatening this having Bragg, because they say it prosecutes people and puts them in prison. So it's live. In a sense also, people threatening him a lot also with death threats. So they were just trying to set me up to kill. So they turned the justice system into something else here in New York, where this Trump is inciting all kinds of assassination attempts on people, and people feel they have to kill people so that Trump doesn't put them in federal prison. So this is ridiculous, and this is very dangerous. So please, anybody watching this, if the court also that's watching this, please, I need remedial action, like I've stated in this video earlier.